Yo, what is up, guys? It's coming back here again today with another video. I want to talk about Joel Embiid for a little bit. I made a video recently talking about Nikola Jokic and why I think he's going to end up winning the MVP award, but you can't count out Joel Embiid yet. They've been the top two candidates, and making a video on Jokic, I felt like I was due to make one on Joel Embiid. I've talked about the Sixers multiple times this season, just because they've been so good. If you notice, the best teams get the most videos made about them, unless you're the Thunder, who are bad, and that's just because you're my favorite team and I'm biased. But overall, I've made quite a few videos, I think like 3 or 4 this season on the Sixers, which is a good bit. But they've just been so good, and they've been surprising the world. Joel Embiid has emerged as an MVP candidate. He's gone from a all-star type player to a superstar MVP candidate type guy, which is really cool to see. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I love watching him play. My brother is a Sixers fan, so I watch a lot of Sixers games, and I've watched a lot of Sixers games with him, and so I've really come to love his game and love watching the Sixers as well. I'm wearing my only Sixers shirt. I promise this is my only one, and I am actually a Thunder fan, but I watch him play all the time. I watch pretty much every team play because I'm a basketball channel, and I just love the game, but I do watch a lot of the Philadelphia 76ers, and I want to talk about what has made Joel Embiid's game so good this season, what has helped him really propel himself from an all-star to a superstar to an MVP candidate in the course of a season. Because last season, if you remember, he had kind of a down year. In 2018-19, he averaged 27.5 points per game. Last season, he only averaged 23, and this season, he's up to 30. So there had to have been some kind of jump, and it's kind of a little bit of returning to form, I guess is what I want to say, alongside with kind of a jump. So if you like this type of content, if you like me talking about the NBA and stuff, just go ahead, drop a subscribe, drop a like, comment below what you think about the MVP race. Do you think Embiid is still in it? Do you think that it's Jokic's award to lose? I think right now it would be pretty difficult to take it from Jokic, but I could see Joel Embiid doing it. It would be cool to see him win an award. I would love to see a center win an award. I think that it's always been a guard-dominated league. We've had a couple of forwards, like I mentioned in a previous video talking about Jokic. We've had Giannis win one. We've had LeBron, or Giannis win two. LeBron obviously win, Curry win. But it's been so long since we've seen a dominant center take home the award. So it would be cool to see Jokic or Embiid win one. But like I said, going to focus on Embiid here and really what has made him an MVP candidate. And all of these things he does are a huge reason as to why the Sixers are so good. And it has not only to do with the way that he's playing, but the people around him. So Daryl Morey comes into this team in the offseason after a really disappointing year last year. They signed out Horford, which a lot of people thought was going to be a good signing. Did not turn out to be a good signing. People really were, me included, I'm not guilty of this, but a lot of people thought Al Horford was going to be a really good fit, me included. I was like, okay, it makes sense. He was great on Boston. He could probably play the power forward position with Joel Embiid. And I was like, this is a great lineup. You've got Simmons, Harris, Horford, and Embiid. That sounds awesome. And it just didn't work out. It just was not a good fit, and they ended up trading him, and they brought in pieces that really fit around Joel Embiid's game and helped him use those improvements that he's made and build on them. So really important pieces like Danny Green, Seth Curry, and also getting rid of Al Horford. I love Al Horford on the Thunder, but he just did not fit in Philly. They weren't using him the way that he was needed to be used, and he just didn't fit well with Simmons and Embiid. They're two top guys. They're two franchise cornerstones. So Al Horford had to go, and bringing in shooters like a Danny Green and a Seth Curry was really helpful for Joel Embiid because Embiid has had a lot of times had problems passing out of double teams. Embiid has always been good enough where you kind of have to double team him at times if you don't have a center capable of stopping him. And even this season, I don't think there is a center capable of stopping him. And so a lot of times it was tough for Embiid because if he passed out to someone, they would just miss the shot. And now he has a lot more people that can shoot. Tobias Harris is having probably the best season of his career as well, which is very important for him. Ben Simmons has taken some steps forward in terms of playmaking. He hasn't been as much of a scorer, but he's taken some steps forward in that regard as well as defensively, which also helps Joel Embiid out because he doesn't have to give as much effort on the defensive end of the ball because you have a guy like Ben Simmons who can be your defensive anchor at times if Embiid needs a rest or if Embiid just isn't able to put in that energy on that side of the ball because he has to play so dominantly offensively for some nights for the Sixers to be successful against some of the better teams. So all that being said, his teammates have really helped him out, but it's been his own individual improvements as well that have really made him such a good player. I talked about the double team thing. Last season and the seasons prior, if you watch Joel Embiid play, teams would double team him because, especially the Toronto Raptors are the best example of this. Toronto knows how to stop Embiid like no other team does. Nick Nurse is great for game planning Joel Embiid. He knows how to figure it out. He does the same thing with Giannis a lot of the time. It's become more difficult because they used to use Marc Gasol as part of that Giannis stopping, but they know how to game plan for these dominant, like big paint attacking type players. And so Embiid struggles against them, but he's been better this season against them. And what they do is they throw like 3 guys at Joel Embiid, and that's pretty difficult. And so teams decide to copy what Toronto did. They will throw 2 guys at Joel Embiid whenever he gets the ball in the paint and force him to throw it out to someone else, make other people beat them. The problem is Joel Embiid has gotten way better at passing out of those situations. In years prior, whenever Joel Embiid would get a ball in that situation, I'm like, this is going to be a turnover. I think that he's going to turn the ball over here. And that's just or if he did pass out, it was not a good enough pass to get a good look. He would pass it and it would be kind of low, or he would pass it out to a player who just did not hit the shot. And now more guys are hitting shots, and Joel Embiid has become way more efficient at getting that pass. He finds the lane much easier. He has teammates that more shade over to those open lanes rather than staying in between like players. They open up the passing lane for Joel Embiid when he needs it, and that's super important. But you also have to make the pass, and Embiid has really stepped up in that regard. He's been incredible. His ball handling as well is really improved. Joel Embiid this season is hitting like step back mid ranges. Like he'll like dribble, like he'll do like a double, like a dribble between the legs like 2 times and do a step back mid range. That was not in Joel Embiid's game before this season. This season, he has really stepped up his ball handling, his mid range game, like I just mentioned. That might be the biggest part of why he's been so good. Because Joel Embiid has always been dominant in the paint. He always has. And he's always had a solid mid-range jumper. But this season, he's shooting it like no one else. He might be one of, if not the best mid-range shooters in the entire NBA at 7 feet tall. And that's incredible. If he faces up against you, he is going to get off a shot that he likes. Whether he makes it or misses it, most of the time it's just going to rely on him. Because there's not much you can do to defend it. It's almost unguardable because, like I said, he's 7 feet tall. He's just going to shoot it right over you no matter who you are, because he's so dangerous to attack the rim. He has made it impossible to fully commit to him attacking the rim, which has really improved his game, because he's either going to shoot that deadly mid-range over you, or he's going to then turn around and post you up and dunk on you. And if you bite on that mid-range, he is getting to the rim. No one is going to stop him, because like I said, he's a 7-foot, 300-pound monster that's going to attack the rim with way more speed than you would expect from a guy that large. He is just able to explosively get to the rim, and because of how deadly it is, so many players will jump on that pump fake, and when they jump, it's over. Joel Embiid is going to get points. And so you can't jump on it, and so he's just going to shoot over you. So there's no way to stop it. There's not been a single team this season that has been able to fully stop Joel Embiid. The Raptors have still done the best job, but the league hasn't figured it out yet because he's been that good. And alongside with that, his three-point shooting is by far the best it's ever been. I have a stat over here on my phone because my computer wouldn't load up the basketball reference page for some reason, but Joel Embiid this season is shooting 37.9% from 3. Almost 40% from 3 as a 7-footer. And that's incredible. He's hit some crazy threes too. He had the one against the Jazz where he shot it over a person who jumped and like was right under him, and he just pops and shoots it right over you because he has such a good form. He has such a high release point that those lower defenders don't phase him at all. Unless you're getting up there and blocking his shot really is not contested. He's just athletic, he's tall, and he has a great shot form that just shoots right over you. It's the same thing that I said on the mid-range. And if you bite on the pump fake, Joel Embiid's just going to get right past you and lumber down the lane, and you can't really stop him. Once Joel Embiid gets a full head of steam, which is kind of difficult for him to do sometimes, but if he gets you on that pump fake and there's no defender in front of him, he's going to barrel down the lane and he is going to dunk on you, or you're going to foul him. And that's one of the biggest improvements from Joel Embiid's game this season, his ability to draw fouls. Like I said, remember how I said last season was kind of like a down year, and he has kind of had a return to form this season. The season prior, 2018-19, where he averaged, I think it was 27.5 points per game, Joel Embiid shot 10.1 free throws per game. Last season, when he only averaged 23 points per game, he averaged around 8 free throw attempts per game, 8.5. This season, he's averaging 30 points per game, and he's shooting 11.8, almost 12 free throw attempts per game. You see the correlation there. If Joel Embiid is shooting double-digit free throws, he's averaging 27 or better points. He's only averaged 23 when he shot 8.5 free throws. Alongside with the fact that he's become so dominant to stop in the mid-range, in the three-point territory, Embiid, if you want to stop him, a lot of times you've got to foul him. And that's something that a lot of people underestimate as a skill for players trying to make the next jump. I'm going to talk about the Thunder now. It's every single video. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to start the season was a good scorer. He became a great and incredible scorer later in the season when he got better at drawing fouls. It looked like Chris Paul had taught him exactly what he needed to do to draw fouls, and he's become incredible at that. It's a skill to be able to get to the free throw line and get those points. There's a reason not everyone gets the amount of free throws that some of these guys get. And I know you could talk about like stars getting calls and stuff like that. I'm not going to deny that some players get more calls than others just because they are stars. But Joel Embiid, he gets hacked. And a lot of times they don't even call the fouls on him because he gets hit so hard and he's so strong that it doesn't even look like he's getting hit. It's like a similar thing to LeBron James, who sometimes gets hit and they just don't call it because he's super strong, and so it doesn't look like it phases him at all. Joel Embiid gets hit almost every single time he goes into that painted area. And like I said, if he attacks the rim, you have to foul him to stop him or he's just going to dunk. Additionally, though, if he posts up on you and turns around, he's so quick at doing that. That's one of the biggest things with Joel Embiid. He is fast. I mentioned that earlier. The fact that he's so fast at making decisions and just physically, like athletically fast, he can so quickly turn around, and he's going to shoot that mid-range if you don't try and stop him, and so your arms get in the way and you end up hacking him, and he gets so many and ones because of that. He's just so strong and so dominant that you have to foul him, and that's become a huge part of his game this season, is getting better at drawing contact. People get pissed off watching Joel Embiid because they're like, oh my god, all he does is go to the free throw line. If you were getting hit, you would also go to the free throw line, but the thing is, the reason Joel Embiid gets hit so much is because of how good he is. And learning how to draw that contact, learning how to optimize free throw attempts, because when you're a star player, it gets tiring out there. And you have to be able to get to the free throw line and get those easy scoring opportunities. And so Joel Embiid has become better at that. And like I said, he's averaging 30 points per game, which is incredible. It's an unreal number of points. And like I said, those free throws are critical alongside that mid-range shooting that I mentioned. That's just pretty much automatic. It's like a layup for him. The 3-point shooting, which is really good. He's just become dominant. And with the use of with the addition of better teammates around him that better fit his game, that dominance has been accelerated beyond what it typically probably would be. Joel Embiid is really, really good, but you have to give credit to his teammates as well, who are playing incredibly well for the Sixers team to be so successful and to help him out. Joel Embiid is easily the best player on this team. It's not even close. And he is obviously their most valuable player. The question is he the most valuable player in the NBA? And I had him as it before he got injured. I really think it's just going to come down to where the Nuggets finish in terms of standings. Like I said, I made that video about how Jokic is going to win MVP. I called it. I said Jokic will win MVP. And then Jamal Murray unfortunately went down with injury. And now I'm not sure where the Nuggets are going to finish in the standings, especially with Anthony Davis and LeBron James coming back for the Lakers soon. The Nuggets could finish 5th or 6th. And if they finish 5th or 6th and Joel Embiid is dominant in this last like 15, 20 game stretch, I'm not sure how many games they have left. I think it's around 16, 17. If he stays dominant in this stretch and the Sixers maintain that 1 seed, Joel Embiid could very easily win the MVP, especially if the Nuggets start sliding without Jamal Murray. They're still really good. Jokic is still really good. So even without Jamal Murray, I think they're very capable of continuing to climb in the standings. It's just a question of how's that going to work, because one of their biggest problems has been depth on that team. Their bench is weak, and you have like fun players like Campazzo is pretty solid. PJ Dozier, those are solid guards off the bench. Monte Morris. But they're not Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray, his ability to become a microwave at times is huge when there are nights where Jokic really isn't struggling, but he's not quite in an offensive mindset. He's more playmaking. And now he kind of has to score, because without Jamal Murray scoring, Jokic has to do that. And I hate that every time I talk about Embiid or Jokic, I have to talk about the other one, but it's just the nature of the MVP race right now. It's one of those two players. One of those two players will win the MVP, and I think that's awesome. So, will Joel Embiid, oh my God, will Joel Embiid, apologize, win the MVP award? I don't know. I would love to see him win it. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Joel Embiid's. Like, if I say Jokic or Joel Embiid is going to win the MVP, that's not a shot at the other one. They're both incredible, but there has to be a winner. And ultimately, right now, I think it's going to come down to the wins. If Jokic continues to win, then he will win MVP. He has the numbers. Like I said, Joel Embiid has incredible numbers, but Jokic's numbers are better. And he's been more valuable, not more valuable, but he's like carried his team almost entirely. You can look at the statistical categories. It's Jokic in pretty much every category. And so I think he has the stats, Embiid has the wins. And it's going to come back down to that traditional question of, do you take the better statistical player or the player with more wins? And I think Embiid has enough of a close gap between the statistical aspect of things that if he maintains the 1 seed, then he can win it. But if Jokic starts getting those wins and he's a top 4 seed at the end of the season, I don't know if they're going to give it to anyone else. So that's where I'm sitting on the MVP race right now. But this video is about Embiid, not Nikola Jokic. I just want to talk about how good Embiid has been. He's continued to be a defensive player of the year caliber player. He is I don't even want to say he's their defensive anchor because they have Ben Simmons, obviously, but he's a great defensive player, him and Ben Simmons. It's part of why the Sixers team can just lock up teams at times. But Embiid's been an incredible player all season, incredible defensively, improved playmaking, improved handles, like I said. He's just improved in pretty much every aspect of his game, and that's incredible to see, especially after missing the playoffs last season. Embiid really put in the time and the work to commit and become a better player. And now at this point, he's a top 10 player in the league. I don't think anyone's going to question that. I don't know where he's specifically at. I haven't done like a player ranking list or anything in a while. Maybe I could do something like that. Let me know. But this is my thoughts on Joel Embiid. This is why he's been so good this season. This is how he has improved his game. In case you haven't been watching the Sixers, I just want to make this video because I think he deserves it. Like I said, I made a few videos on the Sixers, but I haven't quite made this full Joel Embiid video like I made a Jokic video. So let me know if there are any other players you want to see me make these videos about, just talking about players that have been so good this season. I kind of want to make a Julius Randle one. Julius Randle's been really good this season, obviously. He's been the Knicks' best player, and he's helped lead them back to the playoff race. Whether or not they make the playoffs is another question, especially with the play-in tournament changing things up, but he's led them back to relevancy. So let me know if you want to see a video about him. I think I kind of want to do one about Alexei Pokusevski from the Thunder too, talking about his potential and what I see in him. So let me know what players you want to see me do videos like this about, just kind of breaking down their game and how they have improved this season. And with that being said, I will see you guys later. If you got to the end of the video here, drop a Embiid is the MVP in the comments below. We'll see if that stirs up any comments or anything. So I'll see you guys later. Everyone say it back.